Had a bit of trouble with the internet this morning, so I had to reset my router. But looks like we're doing okay now.
Oh, there I am. I was like, where'd I go?
Did you want to do anything in particular this morning, Brooke?
No, not exactly. I was just reading. I was reading the work one, but I kind of been following your lead.
What did you learn about the work chapter then?
Oh, well, I'm trying to find a second job to help make some extra money, and it's just funny reading the jobs that I'm good at. I do. So at least I'm kind of in the right field. So no, it's just interesting.
Yeah, you mean the jobs that you are good at, you're already doing, you mean? Is that what?
Yeah.
And so what's your alternatives?
Well, I don't get a set paycheck. Like, so I only get paid when I'm doing hair, like when a client's sitting in my chair. So I kind of have been looking for something to supplement when I don't have clients, or eventually to possibly kind of move to a new career. But I've always loved what I do. and now I guess I understand why. But I've been kind of wanting to dive into more of the Chinese medicine. I've been going around to a lot of the martial arts places. I've been asking around all the acupuncturists if they need help in the office, those kinds of things. I haven't found anything yet, but that's kind of my next biggest urge, is kind of following Dr. Mao and working with people and learning more about Chinese medicine and Taoism and all of that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like some good leads that you can pursue.
Yeah.
Well, maybe coincidentally or not, I was looking over Chapter 9, Financial Health, this morning.
Oh, that's cool.
And that might lead right down your line there.
Yep.
Let's see, on 209, the opening chapter of 9, he gives a quote that says, "We should manage our fortunes as we do our health, enjoy it when good, be patient when it is bad, and never apply violent remedies except in extreme necessity."
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, I'm picking out to, don't be too worried about finances.
Yeah.
Just do what's appropriate at the time, much like we would do with our health. We always do preventive things, of course.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but things change, so you just have to move with those changes, because nothing's going to stand still.
No.
Then going on the next page, 210, you want to read a little bit there and see if anything hits you on that?
Sure. Financial health is about sustaining others as well as yourself. Finances are an important part of being a healthy person. However, there is some misinterpretation and misunderstanding that occurs when we discuss wealth. For example, our human bodies are actually a part of our wealth. When we treasure and take care of our bodies, we are also taking care of our wealth. Having financial wellness also means being responsible stewards of our planet. We draw sustenance from it. Whatever form our wealth might take, it is our job is to treasure, cultivate, and preserve our gifts. We can use those gifts to sustain others as well as, why can't I talk today? As well as others, as well as ourselves. I'm like talking like Yoda today. I'm like reading ahead of myself. No, that is so true. I feel like in our society today, we are so concerned with these little green pieces of paper, and we forget, that wealth is the abundance of our whole life. I wish we almost worked in a trade and barter system again. I feel like one of the wealthiest people on earth.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I found where he points out health is our bodies and our health are part of our wealth. I remember many years ago talking to a priest, and he was, just talking in general about how to help people, and he was pointing out that unless people have their health, there's little that you can do, because that's an overwhelming concern for people. If they're sick or frail or whatever, you almost can't get through to them because they're so concerned about their health. So taking care of the health is an important part of that wealth, which I never really gave thought to until you just read that. And then being healthy, then you can therefore go ahead and create, our traditional wealth of, the green money and the gold or treasures or whatever.
No,
So,
it's true. I mean, I've said that I work out so much, and by pushing my physical body and by learning how to take care of and shape my body, I cannot tell you the wisdom I've learned by addressing that to the other aspects of my life. With saying moderation in what I eat, moderation in how I work out, being able to push through things I never thought I could push through. Those I can place them at any other aspect with work and everything else.
all right. Looking over on page 212, Brooke, he talks about a correct attitude. And I was thinking about the idea of attitude this week, as a matter of fact. I was watching some online seminars and some stuff on empathy and compassion. And somebody or something gave me the idea of the attitude is important. It might have been on a meditation video I saw too, where attitude is an important part, and I was trying to see how I could put that in with my Tai Chi classes that I'm teaching at our local senior center, thinking, and I haven't got around to how I would clarify it well for folks, but there's something about, if you're learning something, you have to have the right attitude, because I've noticed over the years when people come into a class or a private lesson, for whatever reason, they have an attitude of, well, I can't do this.
Yes.
Or this is too difficult.
Yep.
And so very shortly they will drop out.
Exactly.
And I see that over and over. And you can almost, something I had, in fact, this last session we started last week, often there'll be couples come in, married couples, and typically the women are quite interested in Tai Chi. The men, not so much, especially if it's all women in the class. So there was a couple came in. The man came in with his arms crossed, which is not a good sign, and he was not smiling, not acknowledging much, but just crossing his arms. And so I figured, well, there we go. I'm probably not going to see him again. And sure enough, in that class, they were there. So I could have had my little spiel or my little, motivation thing, something about attitude, that to learn something new, you need an attitude of, I'm not sure what, hopefulness, or that I can do this. It doesn't matter. This is not a competition. You just do what you can do.
Well, I'm trying to remember. I've been working on this with my daughter. You know how I had the meditation bottle? My daughter has been struggling so much over the last 3 months because my husband and I are separating. And I will have the perfect day with her where we are at the pool and we get ice cream and we do this and we watch movies together. And by the time I'm dropping her off, her whole day is miserable because she has to leave me. And so I've been working on her I said, you have to name 5 things that were positive today and happy. So so she can start thinking. And maybe I'll start brainstorming for you, because I believe that when you have passion about something, you learn so much better. And I think that's the same thing as attitude, as what you're talking about. The women have passion to do the Tai Chi and the men don't. So that's why they're eh. But I'll think about it, because I've been trying to do that with my daughter, change her attitude.
Yeah, and you are the expert, of course, on children. I not so much or at all, at least raising them. Now, of course, I've taught children over the years, but not my own.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing, to hear parents' ideas on how you can teach children and, have them grow an attitude and so forth. Because I'm not sure, without starting all over again, so to speak, that I can come up with some of those ideas. But I was thinking of, at least for adults, of an attitude of caring, caring.
Yeah.
And maybe, and at least this week, that's kind of what I've had in my mind, that maybe I can explain caring. Of course, that's related to the Buddhist principle of loving kindness.
Yes.
But I'm a little leery of using some of these catchwords that many people have used and maybe have a negative view of, because it's, so often used. So if I said in my class, well, we need to have a attitude of loving kindness, they'd say, well, this is kind of goofy, isn't it, for Tai Chi? So I have to be careful of what words I'm using. But anyway, so maybe the caring. Now, I'm looking to like children or your children. I don't know how I would work that in, because if I would say to a 5-year-old or 7-year-old or whatever, well, let's try to work on an attitude of caring for others and ourselves. Now, in a sense, of course, kids learn that, but I'm not sure how you do it by talking.
Yes, I was going to say, nobody is as set in their ways as children. Much worse than adults. Yeah. But they get it eventually.
Yeah, right. So, and maybe it's just by leading and learning by example. So the parents lead by, showing an attitude of caring, and maybe the discussion isn't necessarily there.
That's all I do, is lead by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's look over. I'm losing my place here on the book, but 212. Did we get to 212 yet?
Yep.
Did we do? Oh, yeah. Okay. And I just started talking about the attitude. How about reading that second paragraph? I think there's some good stuff perhaps in that second paragraph, Brooke.
Maybe I can actually read this time. So what is the correct financial attitude? You must accept that managing your finances is a part of living a responsible life. You also need to realize that creating financial health is important to sustaining your life's purpose. Money is just another form of energy, or chi, which allows you the freedom and ability to make choices and decisions for your life, including those for your family and your community. What you choose for your career, how you blend your passion and talent in alignment with your mission, and how you express your creativity is all part of your journey. Once you understand this vantage point, you can view your finances objectively, rather than seeing them as good or bad, moral or immoral. I love it. It's all true.
And of course, you have the traditional Eastern thought of not judging. So whether you're in a quote bad financial situation now or quote good, maybe it's not so good to put a label on it. We just have a different financial situation.
Yeah.
So in your case, your different situation is that maybe you need a few extra dollars to pay for kids' school or buy food or who knows what. Mm-hmm. But it's just a change situation, not necessarily bad.
No,
or not necessarily good.
I agree.
Yeah. Now I do have a problem, which is my problem, about moral, immoral, because for a long time, especially growing up in a traditional kind of a Christian upbringing, you're always taught, well, this is moral, this is immoral, and you hear it on the news, you hear it discussed all the time. So naturally, my way of thinking is, well, there's certain things that are moral and there's certain things that are immoral.
Yeah.
But in the Eastern way of thought, not necessarily.
No.
Again, it could just be a change. somebody robs a bank. Well, normally we would say, well, that's immoral. Or somebody, hits somebody, that's immoral. But if, depending on the situation, you don't know what's going on. Maybe somebody hit somebody because they were trying to protect themselves or somebody else.
Yeah.
Maybe they robbed the bank because their child literally was starving to death.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, generally, we don't want to encourage people to rob banks.
No, but you know what you're talking about perspective and compassion and understanding, which is, that's putting yourself beyond, those labels. I agree.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's see. Let's see what Dr. Mao said. Well, I think we failed to mention. We're talking about "Live Your Ultimate Life" by Dr. Mao, his latest book. And the next page, he talks about your element determines your approach. And I found this interesting when I read it this morning. The elements, for those watching this later, are the traditional 5 elements of Eastern personality theory: the wood element, metal element, water, fire, and I'm missing one that I can't think of offhand.
There's wood, fire, earth, metal, and water.
Right. Okay. So, and the premise is that we all have one of those as our primary personality. And so if you recognize that and know that, and folks watching this can take a look at the notes on the video, and you'll see a link to find out, or do a little quiz to find out what yours is. Once you know that, then you can know better how to use that strength, or in some cases, if it's a weakness, to use that for your finances in this case. So Dr. Mao says your element, wood, fire, so forth, possesses traits that predispose you to unique tendencies and styles of financial handling. For example, and this is what I thought was good, that he gives an example of each of the one. The wood person, which is kind of your type A personality, a leader personality, tends to spend impulsively and make gambles. For some reason, right away, Donald Trump came to my mind. Now, I'm not exactly sure he would necessarily be wood personality, but I'm guessing he spends impulsively, buys gold-plated stuff, gambles on business ventures, and and hiring people. Okay, so the wood person has to recognize that you may spend impulsively and make gambles, which may or may not be good or bad. It just depends on the circumstance. But at least you recognize that you have that tendency. Okay, now the water personality, which is me and you, basically, I think, where they call it the wisdom personality, kind of thinks about things and tries to figure out what to do, and maybe properly or improperly tries to dispense wisdom to others, which I tend to do sometimes irrationally. Okay, so anyway, the water personality, Dr. Mao says, is prone to being risk averse and potentially missing out on good opportunities. Now, I'm not sure I recognize that myself, because I don't know. I haven't looked at it real carefully, but it seems like I have done quite a bit of gambling on oddball stuff. Now maybe because fear is supposedly a part of the water personality, so you're afraid of things. So maybe I have been fearful, and therefore I don't want to do things because I'm afraid I'll fail. And that could be why I was shy most of my life, because I was afraid of doing something and being pointed out as weird or something. So maybe that's true, and I just really put it in the back of my mind.
I am super cautious. I don't step out enough. I fully accept that trait for myself.
Okay. Yeah, mine is probably, I'm kind of in denial maybe over the years. It's probably what happened. Okay, now the third element, the earth element, he says, is generous to a fault. Earth element is kind of like the mothering person, the person that helps people out. And if you're tending to help people out a lot, you can just imagine how that generosity could go on to an extreme.
I do.
Yeah. So usually I'm thinking it's kind of like say you're a mom and you want to help out the kids, so you put them in the best schools, spend all your money on the schools and the best toys and all that stuff, but you ignore yourself. So you might shop in the secondhand shop for your own clothing, but go and buy the luxury stuff for the kids. So it's your generosity kind of gets out of balance.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's pointing out, that the earth element folks should look at that. Okay, the metal person, who's the one who kind of is the list maker, the one that wants to have a checklist and go right down the line. He says the metal person is inclined to have expensive tastes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a bit of metal because I do the checklist and stuff. And again, it might be in denial, but I know when I save my money to buy something over the years, I tend to buy the best quality. And I'll go to look at Consumer Reports and find out what the best thing is, which isn't necessarily a luxury item. But people have told me over the years that, boy, you certainly tend to buy the best stuff, or whatever. But my rationale is I'm studying it to find out what's the best quality for the money.
You cannot be in denial. You just might be in better balance than most of us.
Yeah, but I've never really been fancy, if that's a good description. I've had, when I had money, I would not lack for anything, but I wouldn't go out and buy the most luxurious car, the most luxurious house, or even clothing for that matter. But anyways,
not that.
Yeah. So the metal person needs to look out for having that expensive taste. And then the final personality, the fire personality, tends to spend to feel good. Okay, now fire persons are the ones that have the fiery personality. They're always real lively and impulsive. And I've known some of those, of course, as we all have. And that seems to make sense, that the fire person actually is impulsive, wants to feed the emotions kind of. And so if they're feeling bad, they might say, well, let me take a trip to the beach today, or let me go out and have a nice meal, or just kind of impulsive things.
Yeah.
Spending money to feel good, or let me go buy a new car. Kind of down. Maybe a new car would do me good.
Yep.
And I can recognize that a little bit myself, actually. That especially Americans, I guess, we are bombarded with advertising to go buy this and that'll make you feel good. Go eat in this restaurant, that'll make you feel good. So you're kind of fed into that stuff.
That's my daughter to a T.
Yeah. So anyway, that this morning when I read that was pretty cool to see how he kind of narrowed those down into real basic categories for those 5 personalities.
Yeah.
The next page, he talks about money as an expression of your productive energy, and I think he kind of hinted about that earlier, that money is just a form of energy.
Yeah.
So you can use it for good or for bad, although we're not labeling, of course.
Yes.
and things change. So the energy changes, the money changes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he's saying here. Money is neither good or bad. It's an expression of your energy. Depending on how you manage it, can be positive or negative.
Yeah.
And it gives an example of say a farmer uses energy to grow rice. He then takes the rice and exchanges it for eggs from the chicken farmer, clothes from the tailor, and farm tools from the metalsmith.
Yep.
For all the parties, the expression of each energy became money. Money is portable and provides freedom to exchange goods and services.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just energy that's easily exchangeable instead of the chickens and the pigs and so forth. And then he talks about money as also a valuation tool that determines the worth of your energy or productive energy. If you are able to provide highly sought goods and services, then it commands a high valuation. But the important thing is to remember money is to recognize it's to sustain us materially and allow us the freedom to live out our lives in a constructive and meaningful way, as well as to help others in need.
Yeah.
I'm maybe reading into that, but I'm thinking maybe that's more of the Eastern way of thought, where you don't get money to get rich.
No,
You don't necessarily want to be the emperor in old China.
no, you don't like make
King.
money to put it in a box.
Yeah, so it's to be used for, what was the expression he used here? To allow us the freedom to live out our lives in a constructive and meaningful way.
Yeah.
To sustain us, of course, to sustain us is the first principle. You got to have food to eat and shelter.
Yep.
Take care of your children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, but another concept, of course, is not what everybody would agree to. They would say, "Oh no, I got to make $1 million. After all, Donald Trump is my idol. I want to become very, very successful." And so that page is, almost is like teaching to the choir, preaching to the choir, because I wonder how others who don't now agree with that would agree with it, or ever could.
Me, that's my dream. That paragraph is my dream to live in life.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
know
now,
I'm different.
but now, have you always had that, Brooke, or has it changed gradually or abruptly over the years?
No, I've always been like that, and I don't know if it has to do with my family of origin or if it's just who I am. I've never been fancy. There are things I've wanted, and things I want to save up for. One of the probably most expensive things I want is to be able to travel. But to me, I want to travel. I want to learn and show my children and those kinds of things. I want to live my life, and I get frustrated that I need so much money to be able to explore and learn and live my life, I guess. So that's where my frustration lies.
Yeah.
I wish I could help everyone around me. Yeah, no, I'm very good at saving money, but I'm also very good at not holding on to it. I guess to find that balance.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interested me for years, obviously different societies and different people have different views on money and financial health and so forth. And of course, a lot of it, our learning comes from the society or family or people around us. So not much you can do about that. But it just seems to be generally that there needs to be balance, whatever that would mean to an individual. So maybe in explaining these concepts, I could use the word balance. Yeah, it's fine to have a lot of money in a fancy house, but use some sense of balance, and then that would be up to the person to decide what that balance means to them.
Yeah.
Down here in Florida today, we had that tragedy of seems like 50 people have been shot at a nightclub last night. And so I was thinking about that too, is how could we ever prevent that? Well, I'm not sure you can, because there's always outliers who, for whatever reason, their brain is thinking wildly strange. So the guy who did this, could we look back 10 years and have prevented this? I'm not so sure. Just whatever his situation was, it was strangely weird, and so he ended up doing that. So I'm always like having these idealist thoughts that have a perfect world, with no violence and no sadness, but that's not going to happen. So all we do is just have some moderation and do the best you can, and that's
exactly.
Yeah, and have compassion for those who can't quite manage to be balanced, I suppose, in some sense.
Ooh, and to be, as we were talking earlier, oh shoot, I just forgot the word, but to be an example. So, we do our best and be an example for those around us.
Yeah, that's a good thought, and I think probably a good ending for today, Brooke.
Yeah.
So why don't we end this session on Dr. Mao's Live Your Ultimate Life, and we'll pick it up again next Sunday at 11:30 with myself and Brooke. And if anybody wants to make comments on the YouTube videos, feel free, or even join us on the watching the live session. All right, so have a great week with you and your family, Brooke.
Thanks, you too.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.